Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another work time lunch with Joe Stunner Boxing. How are you all doing? You good? My usual, le sandwich de fromage, cheese sandwich. Right, before I start rambling inanely, I want to say an enormous thank you to all of you who have subscribed, because we've hit 200 subscribers and this channel has only been going since October last year. I never had any expectations for it. I still don't. It is what it is. It evolves at its own pace, but I have to thank all of you. It is appreciated. It's great fun doing these videos. Again, I have no expectations, but if you've subscribed, I really do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. And also, I want to send out a particular thank you to G-Man Boxing, because probably half my subscribers are courtesy of the shout outs that he does. He supported this channel immensely. So in G-Man's honour, I'm going to crack open this bottle of Lucozade, which I know is his tipple. And I'm going to pour this into this glass. It's a plastic cup. G-Man, here's to you. This urine coloured drink that you often drink. This one's to you, my friend. Thank you so much for all your support. And like I say, half my subscribers are down to G-Man, so much love to you. And I'll leave a link to G-Man's channel in the description, because if you haven't subscribed to his channel, most of you probably have, but if you haven't, you're missing out. He's a great lad, Irish lad, and knows his boxing, always does really great videos. G-Man Boxing, subscribe. Okay, enough of this back slapping. It's like the Oscars, isn't it? Let's talk a bit about boxing, specifically Anthony Joshua and his training setup or lack thereof. Now, Joshua, when it became apparent that he was shopping around for trainers, not the ones you put on your feet, we knew Rob McCracken was out the door, and there was supposed to be some sort of announcement this week. And I got to thinking, who would be the best trainer for Anthony Joshua, all things considered? Now, I know that a lot of the trainers are not available. They wouldn't do it for whatever reason. They're training other heavyweights. Some of those heavyweights are Joshua's potential opponents or rivals. So it's going to be finding the right guy who's available is a real chore. So I'm going to just mention someone, the person that I think would be the best trainer for Joshua. And it isn't someone I think is going to take the job, or he'd probably even be offered the job, for those reasons that I just mentioned. And that person, if I had a magic boxing wand and could put Joshua with anyone, that person would be Andy Lee. Let me explain why. If you look at Joshua's current state, let's divide this into two categories: his training setup, getting himself physically and mentally prepared for a fight, but also another category, which is his overall mental state, not just in relation to boxing. Now, as terms of boxing, I think a lot of us have thought for a long, long time that he needs to make changes, that Rob McCracken did a good job with Joshua up to a point, goes back to the amateurs, but he took AJ as far as he possibly could. Now, look, I'm a boxing fan, I've never been a trainer, but with the greatest respect to Rob McCracken, I don't consider him to be one of the elite trainers. G-Man, well on. I don't consider him to be one of the elite trainers because he strikes me as being a throwback, a little bit archaic, a little bit dated, his methods. He reminds me a lot of boxing trainers in the 80s, because I'm old enough to go back to being a boxing fan in the 80s. You know, your Terry Lawless types and George Francis maybe, and certainly the amateur setup. It reminds me too much, everything is too textbook, or is very textbook. Maybe not too textbook, because it might work for some people, but everything is very regimented, very proper in terms of boxing style, a little bit stuffy, a little bit old school, but not in a good way. A lot of old school methods are very good. A lot of old school mentalities are very good. But training methods, yeah, it's all too textbook for me. And I think he got Joshua up to a certain level. Joshua, God bless him, achieved so much. Olympic gold medal, regardless of one or two questionable decisions along the way. As a professional, was fast-tracked. Has done extremely well. Excellent resume. All right, he's lost a couple of fights, but so what? You fight the best consistently. You do all your mandatories. You're probably going to pick up a defeat or two along the way. That doesn't bother me. But even before the first Andy Ruiz fight, no. I thought he'd gone as far as he can go with McCracken. Now, Andy Lee. Well, actually, before I come to that, let's talk about Joshua's mentality. Not just boxing mentality, but mentality in general. Excuse me. More food. So Joshua, at the moment, it seems to me, is in some sort of, I don't think crisis is too big a word. It seems to me that Joshua has lost his fistic identity, but also his identity almost as a person. That's the impression I get. I don't know the man. This is pure conjecture. But at the same time, I just get the feeling that he's a bit of a lost soul at the moment. He's got so many questions in his head. He doesn't know which way to turn. He doesn't know what to think. He's seeking advice from too many places. He's overthinking things vastly. And I just get the feeling he's lost his identity. When he first started as a professional, it was all about seek and destroy. It was all about get stuck in, throw lots of punches, be hurtful, use your size, use your strength. And then you can actually date back to the time, to the actual moment where things seemed to change, which was that first Ruiz fight, because he knocked Ruiz down and he was still that seek and destroy guy, even though there were some big question marks over the state he was in going into that fight, even the ring walk and the fact that he was having his neck rubbed and all this before the opening bell, and he looked very vacant, looked a bit concussed to me, but he started, as he meant to go on, floored Ruiz, and then Ruiz got up and floored him and bounced him off the canvas like a basketball, you know. And after that defeat, he was not the same. Even though he came back, won the return against a woefully conditioned Ruiz. Very, very poorly conditioned. I mean, as bad as it gets. He won it by boxing incredibly conservatively. Ruiz couldn't do anything. Loads of heavyweights could have beaten that Ruiz. That 19-stone fat blob. That melted vanilla sundae. Loads of fighters could have beaten him there. And Joshua won the belts back. Defended against Pulev, and then we had that debacle, that embarrassment against Usyk, where he didn't seem to know what to do. He'd lost his fistic identity. Do I box him? What the fuck am I boxing Usyk for? The master boxer. From the word go, Usyk was the one being aggressive. taking the centre stage, being forceful on the front foot. Joshua didn't know what to do. Was he waiting? If so, what's he waiting for? It was awful to watch and bewildering to watch, to be honest with you. And now we arrived at where we're at now. Well, so let's. Why did I mention Andy Lee? Why do I think Andy Lee is the man for Joshua? I think it's because Andy Lee, in terms of boxing, knowledge of boxing as a, the techniques, the different punches, as a tactician, he's very, very good. He's very good. The work he's done with Parker is so far very, very impressive. Second Chisora fight. Yeah. Parker came in heavy. It was a bit of an eyebrow raiser. Oh, he's coming in a bit heavy. But it proved to be the case. He's much more aggressive. Floored Chisora 3 times. Was more aggressive. Was more mentally aggressive. It's not just about walking forward and throwing punches. You've got to have the right mentality for it. And I think this is where it would really benefit Joshua if he had someone in his camp, a head trainer, adding those rough edges, getting him back to basics, stripping everything down, getting him back to the sort of Joshua who fought Dillian White, who fought, we nearly blew Kevin Johnson away and around. That young, possibly even naive heavyweight who wanted to smash your face in, who had a bit of a rough, against White, he was mugging him, and pulling faces and all that stuff. Wasn't remotely intimidated, got hurt a couple of times, so what? I think by stripping everything away, back to the basics, Lee could remind Joshua of his natural inclinations, of the person he is, which the person you are influences who you are as a sportsman, your style, what you feel most comfortable doing. It would remind Joshua of all those things mentally, and of course physically. Lee has enough knowledge, having worked with both Adam Booth and of course Emmanuel Stewart, and he lived with Emmanuel Stewart. He has enough knowledge to take someone of Joshua's natural talent and size and power and refine, not rub off the rough edges, which I think that's a big problem that the current trainer did, that Rob McCracken did. He rubbed off too many edges. It's not about rubbing off the edges. You keep the edges, you keep the spikes, you keep the nastiness, but mentally and tactically, you learn how to control those rough edges, not to be too cavalier, to do what at what time. I think, and technically, of course, as far as things like balance and punch selection and pacing yourself, that's always been an issue with Joshua, isn't it? His engine ain't great. How to protect your chin more. All that technical stuff, Lee can teach him. Much in the same way that when Emmanuel Stewart took over from Vladimir Klitschko, his confidence was around the ankles. He was very unconfident, he'd been knocked out twice in quick succession, really. His self-belief was very low. And Stewart accepted and recognised his shortcomings, namely his chin and his engine, and worked on that. And I think Lee can do the same with Joshua. Now, all of this may just be a load of hot air because Lee isn't going to train Joshua. I'll be amazed if he did, but I really wish he would. I know he's close to Tyson Fury. I know he's Tyson Fury's son, Tyson Fury's cousin, isn't he? But Tyson Fury himself said, Andy Lee isn't a coach, he's a teacher. And I think that's what someone needs. Joshua is someone who totally defers to his trainer. He isn't someone who says, look, I've got these skills and I want you to help me realise them, realise my full potential. He's someone who says, what do I do? What skills have you got that I can learn? Kind of like when Angelo Dundee trained both Ray Leonard and Muhammad Ali. They were their own men. Leonard and Ali were their own men. When they came to Dundee, they were already, not the finished article, but they already had a fistic identity, and Dundee honed those strengths. He kind of helped them fully realise that identity. Joshua has to rediscover his fistic identity and maybe his identity as a man. And I think Angelo is the best person to do that. Ali and Leonard are people who would say, I want to do things this way. Can you help me? Joshua isn't naturally like that. His natural inclination is to say, like I say, what do I do? What shall I learn now? He's trying to complicate things. He's trying to be all things. And you can't be all things. You get lost amongst the sort of, lost in the ocean. You get pulled out to sea and drowned mentally. And Joshua, what's Joshua now? 31? He's still got time. He's still got time, but when you think about it, it shouldn't surprise anyone that Joshua's in this position, because I think I might have said he didn't put on a pair of boxing gloves until he was 18 or 20 or something like that. He had obviously a successful amateur career, but it wasn't that long. And he was fast-tracked in the pros. He's had pressure on him, a lot of pressure. Massive pressure. And that's got to take its toll. Because Tyson Fury, as his main rival, or one of his main rivals, let's not forget Usyk, but Fury always comes across as being very, very confident. He thrives on pressure. And when he's got a challenge and he's up for it, yeah, I agree. But I don't think Josh was the opposite. I think he's faced lots of challenges and has beaten nearly everyone he's faced, apart from one man. But at the same time, Tyson Fury has his weaknesses, as we saw. He had a mental breakdown or whatever the fuck it was, drinking, taking drugs, failing the drug test, whatever. We've all got weaknesses. There's nothing wrong with it. Everybody's got weaknesses. Nothing wrong with that. We're all prone to depression, to anxiety, to low mood. Depression and anxiety are actually clinical terms which are overused and abused. But my point is, we think of elite boxers as being these like supermen. They're not. They're vulnerable people if put into a certain circumstance. And the pressure that Joshua was under, especially when he won the IBF title so early in his career, in a spectacular manner, getting rid of Charles Martin in 2 rounds, big deal. The pressure was astronomical. Not least of all because he's transcended the sport. He sells out stadiums. He's on television shows. He's, the mums and dads know him. That's a shitload of pressure. And you've got to be a man of, Muhammad Ali or Ray Leonard proportions to soak that stuff up and take it in your stride. These are just my thoughts. I wish Andy Lee would train AJ, but he won't, of course. Who do you think would be the best trainer for AJ? One final thing, I don't think AJ should go to America. I think he should stay in Britain. I think he likes the home cooking. I think he likes the comfort. He's the type of guy mentally who wants that sort of familiarity, that local culture around him. I don't think he should go to America. It's kind of like when Savannah Marshall joined Mayweather's team. She didn't like it, so she came back here and teamed up with Peter Fury, and now it's a very stripped down, unpretentious, no-nonsense environment, and she's absolutely thrived. And I think it would be the same with AJ if he stayed in Britain, got rid of all the hangers-on, and just concentrated on honing his craft. So those are my opinion. What do you think? Who would you pick as AJ's new trainer? There's going to be an announcement supposedly this week. I never hold my breath over those things because sometimes I get cancelled, but it'd be interesting to see. Let me know what you think. Yeah, put your comments below. Thanks again for tuning in. I always appreciate your time. Truly I do. Very, very grateful for that. 200 subscribers. Thank you so much. Once again, G-Man, much love, mate. Thank you all for listening. 20 minutes this video. God, I've rambled. Not like me, is it? I'm going to finish this lovely meal. Take care of yourselves. We'll speak again soon. Much love to all of you. Good luck.